Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Chris Nurr, Chief Digital Officer of Synity, a world leader in enterprise data software, and we're partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT, CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers to bring you this series of interviews with thought leaders in data and analytics. Today brought to you from beautiful downtown Providence, Rhode Island, as opposed to our usual location in New York City. Today, I have the terrific pleasure of talking with CJ Nakamura, Chief Data Officer at ZEISS. Welcome, CJ. Nice to meet you.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So CJ, let's jump right in if we can. You're a serial Chief Data Officer, and one of the things that I found really interesting about your career is you've had the experience both of standing up kind of brand new data offices, but then also building capabilities at large organizations. How would you relate these two experiences together across your career? And are there some key insights that you could share that are on the difference between being kind of a startup versus a growth chief data officer?
Sure. Thank you, Chris, for the question. So the way I would put the startup CDO role, which I'm pretty much, embarking upon in the experience with the ZEISS Group, the company I joined a few months ago, is really all about evangelizing the big why, right? You get a lot of these questions on why we're on this journey, why data is important, why do we need to treat data as a strategic asset, and so on. So that's one of the responsibilities for sure. Educating the C-suite, educating the business execs, the business leaders in the different segments is another big task. Getting budget, getting headcount. You're really taking on the role as being the entrepreneur in the bigger corporation, right? So. You also have to, in the very first 100 days or so, attempt to build out at least a conceptual framework of your offense and defense data strategic framework, and that doesn't come easy many times because at the same time you're coming from the outside. And you have to quickly understand the business model, how the company, not so much important how the company has been making money in the past, but really how the company has been, what growth track, what monetization track there are for the future. So that's a challenge, for the startup CDO to take on as laying out the data strategy. In addition to, of course, depending on the corporation, right? But sourcing, hiring, maybe borrowing and stealing, data like-minded people across the company, and this very well. It's you find them being hidden in the finance office, in the IT office, and maybe sales, marketing, or other corporate functions, legal, what have you. So. Co-driving and engaging the business, right? This is what it comes down to as a startup CDO. You come in from the outside. You must deliver that trust, that transparency, that relationship as soon as you can. And, co-developing and co-driving, proof of concept and, lighthouse projects. So that's, I think, at the end of the day, in a startup CDO mode, you definitely need the right CDO with the right skills and the right background for the data journey that the company's on.
That's very helpful, and a few things to unpack in that. So maybe just to dig into a couple of the key points. I agree. I think the big why is super important, especially if you're in the space of providing data literacy to the C-suite, which is a challenge that I hear from CDOs, kind of both in the startup and in the growth mode. One of the things and so that's one point. I also picked up that you have this concept, which I think is gaining some currency, of the difference between a defensive and an offensive data strategy, where the defensive is sort of like, in the past, the motivation for data strategy was more about risk and compliance. And it's now evolved into how do we use data as a trusted asset in order to drive commercial growth, either on the top line or on the EBITDA line, and kind of create new offerings. So I think that's an important aspect of the C-level education as well. Maybe to just pick up on a couple of those, you were previously at IBM. You've worked in a number of technology companies. In terms of that why and that offensive and defensive strategy, are there some characteristic differences industry-wise between ZEISS, which is high-tech manufacturing, optics, and so on, and companies that are fundamentally technology companies and are in very different verticals? And is that industry difference important in articulating the why to the C-suite?
Yeah, similarities, I would think, are, for instance, a very high standard on technical excellence, right? So both in hardware, you think about IBM, you think about Siemens, Siemens building kind of cutting edge world-class technologies with MRI scanners, X-ray, PET scan, those medical imaging modalities. So on the software side, the Cerner Corporation, top of the line, EMR, electronic medical record software, serving millions of physicians around the world. At ZEISS Group, currently where I'm at, we provide a rich set portfolio technologies in the industrial metrology, quality assurance, microscopy solutions for life sciences and material research, medtech kind of companies. IBM, I don't think needs much of an introduction, right? But in the CDO context, I think similarities emerge, right? So IBM, just like the Siemens or ZEISS Group, are really not digitally native as a business model with 100 years of reshaping their products, their services over the years, having to go through 2 world wars and the explosion of ARPANET and internet, and now we have all the supercomputers in the pockets of our pants. So these, I think, these traditional business models, right? If you think about it, they really had no option than to reinvent themselves. That's kind of the common denominator. And I think if we talk about data speak, right, over the years and decades, we build out more and more data silos, right, with OLAP data warehouses, relational databases, SQL. I remember when people still talked about Teradata and IBM DB2s and so on, only to build out more and more technical and data debt, right? Pumping out thousands of operational reports that maybe not so many people actually took decisions on, right? So I think as a CDO, as an aspiring CDO in these traditional settings, there's definitely a lot of similarities. I'll give you a few examples that we're all very familiar with. The mindset of treating data as an asset, or the mindset of not treating data as an asset, right? Why investing in data catalog? What value does a data governance council provide? Why do we need data standards? Why do we need to invest in a bunch of data scientists, to go build machine learning models? Other similarities, I can't tell you how many failed CRM implementations have been happening in different environments, where, of course, data quality continuously remain to be a problem. I think there's definitely a lot of similarities in these traditional settings.